Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. For today's video, I'm going to let you guys know what it feels like to be a fan of the worst team in the National Basketball Association, the Detroit Pistons, man. Damn, it's going to be something to talk about right here. Got my Heineken Original. I don't know if this is good or not. This essentially is what it feels like to be a Detroit Pistons fan. It feels like horrible beer. Sorry, Heineken. I'm just saying, man. Okay, so today, the Pistons bought out Reggie Jackson. We know a few weeks ago, they traded away Andre Drummond, which was one of the worst value trades of all time as far as, like, a guy that has, like, all-star potential. Which, the Pistons essentially had no trade offers for Andre Drummond, but it just kind of goes to show how I don't really want to say undervalued, how outdated his type of position really is here in the NBA, right? And the Pistons, of course, he was essentially the franchise player for the better of 7-8 years now, something like that. I don't know how many years he's been on the Pistons, but something like that, bro. So, yes, what does it feel like to be a fan of the worst team? I mean, even like Knicks fans might be like, well, at least you're not a Knicks fan. The thing that the Knicks have, though, you all have RJ Barrett, you have Mitchell Robinson, but most importantly, you have the title of New York Knicks, which in theory you would think would be good to sign major free agents. I mean, I think they need to kind of really rehaul the front office, and once they do all that completely and just get a whole new staff in there, I do think the brand of the Knicks is going to be strong once again. It's just that's a matter of time, right? The Pistons don't even have that, guys. Think about it. Free agents don't sign with Detroit. The only big name free agents we've ever gotten was an old ass Chris Webber, an old ass Tracy McGrady, and then of course via trade we got Allen Iverson, who was at that point older ass Allen Iverson. And I think to really give you guys the mindset what it feels like to be a fan of the worst team in the NBA, we kind of have to start at the beginning, okay? So I started watching basketball at the age of 12, the 2004 Detroit Pistons. I was a 12-year-old hype beast, and I remember my mom got me into the game of basketball, and just she was a fan of the team before I was watching basketball and stuff, so I remember I was watching the game, and I was hooked ever since. Then eventually I got NBA 2K, and I have probably thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours into just that whole genre, that whole series of video games in NBA 2K, right? So I was hooked right away. And I mean, I was born into the game of basketball with as successful as you can be, and that is winning an NBA championship. But not only that, a championship that was won in a way that's never really been won before, against a team of superstars in Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. And then, of course, they were the super team of getting Karl Malone and Gary Payton, who were older at the times, of course, but still, it was looked at as like a super team at the time, right? And then the Pistons were just a collective group of dudes that just really worked hard, and nobody really expected them to do what they did. And in my opinion, man, it's one of the greatest championships of all time. That's just my opinion, but of course, as a Piston fan, it means a lot to me, especially as a 12-year-old watching basketball for the first time. Okay, so after that, of course, they got to the finals the next season, and they lost to the San Antonio Spurs. I still remember the shot like it was yesterday. Damn, Rasheed Wallace leaving Robert Horry wide open, man. Oh my God. Totally just left the inbounder guy just totally wide open. Absolutely crushed my spirit at that time. That was really my first initial introduction to basketball. That feeling of defeatedness, oh my God, this really hurts. Because at the time, Pistons were dominating everything, right? And even get to the finals was dominant. And then over the course of the next few seasons, they got to 5 or 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals. A lot of people saw that as a failure. My father always told me, my name's Craig, by the way. He's always said, Craig, enjoy the moment. They might not have won the finals every single season, but the fact that they got to the conference finals, only 4 teams do that. Eventually that success is going to be gone. And eventually it was. It got to the point where the Pistons were starting their new season. I think it was around 2008, 2009 season, something like that. The Detroit Pistons, I think they were off to a 5-0 start. But then at that point, Joe Dumars decided to shake things up by trading away Chauncey Billups for Allen Iverson. Now, I do remember the trade. I was in my accounting class. I remember that because it's the only class I ever ended up dropping because I absolutely hated it. But yeah, and I remember being so excited because, I will say, Chauncey Billups at that time, it was almost like a staleness feeling. Just you know what to expect from the Pistons, and we were all just kind of Chauncey at times, it's he kind of lagged almost like that that energy needed to really win a championship. So I think a lot at that time, a lot of people were like, yo, like just like switching things up. This is going to be great for the Pistons. Of course, it totally 1 trillion billion million % was not. Chauncey Billups was the leader of that team. And to this day, it's like at that time, Junior Crispy Flakes was excited. I was like, damn, Allen Iverson, this is cool. Like this is a superstar name of Detroit. And, he was coming from the Denver Nuggets, and it's like he was still a fine player at that time. So that was the exciting part. The idea was to have him play alongside Richard Hamilton. I think eventually for Ronnie Stuckey to take over the reins of the team. We all know the history of that. It did not work out. Eventually, Allen Iverson was gone. I think it only lasted like a season. Rip Hamilton was gone. We drafted Kyle Singler. And that brings us to the next things, man. Failed draft picks. You will find a hard time to find a team out there that is drafted more poorly over the past decade than the Detroit Pistons. And on top of that, not only like the past 10 years of bad drafting, but also you toss on the 2003, which is one of the worst busts of all times in Darko Milicic. And it's like, there's so many cases where one of these draft picks could have swung things around. Maybe they would have got Donovan Mitchell. Maybe they would have got Kawhi Leonard, or they would have got Paul George or Giannis Antetokounmpo. Somebody like that. Just one of those guys would have fell into the Pistons' laps. We would not be having this conversation. But they drafted poorly so bad. And really, the one great draft pick that they got was Andre Drummond. The thing is, though, is that Andre Drummond, while he's good, he was a guy that did not lead to success. He led to mediocrity. He led to the Pistons, just really staying like stalemate for the past, like I said, ever since he's been on the team there, man. So then, a few seasons back there, Pistons ended up making a trade, getting Blake Griffin. And in a way, it's almost the same as how they got Allen Iverson, because the things we gave up to get Blake Griffin was pretty valuable. It was a draft pick, which I believe ended up being Jerome Robinson, but that doesn't mean the Pistons would have drafted him. Ended up being Tobias Harris, of course, like Boban was going like that. Tobias Harris, though, great player now for the Philadelphia 76ers. I really liked Tobias Harris. I would have absolutely loved to have kept Tobias Harris, and of course would have got Blake Griffin, but there was no trade that was going to make that happen. But even with Blake Griffin, it was almost the same type of fool's gold as Allen Iverson, where just as Pistons fans, like, we were so damn excited about, getting Blake Griffin out there. Of course, we had a new arena, tickets weren't selling, so the idea of getting a big name like that was hopefully going to lead to more attendance. It definitely has not. And yeah, last year, Blake Griffin had his best season, really as an NBA player. Was an all-star, looking like one of the best damn power forwards in the entire NBA, but lo and behold, as expected, injuries took him out. And this season, we played a few games, but definitely injuries got to the point where he just had to call it quits for the season. And yes, all of a sudden, man, we now have this player that has like 2-3 years left on his contract, that I think has little to no trade value, just like Andre Drummond did. Like, nobody's going to want Blake Griffin until he can come here and kind of prove things out again. I don't know if he'll get the opportunity or not. I don't know if he'll be able to do that or not. So yeah, you have the hopefulness of Blake Griffin tossed on, the bad draft picks, and it's just a whole bunch of disappointment over the years. You know what I'm saying, man? And then, of course, going into this season, it was the whole expectations. Like, we ended up getting Derrick Rose. And Derrick Rose, kind of the same case where it's like, this is a big-time name. And, of course, the thing about Derrick Rose is that no other teams really give him an opportunity because, he definitely has that same injury history that Blake Griffin has, probably to a worse extent. But no, Derrick Rose came out here, and he's putting up as good of numbers, per 36 as MVP season. Absolutely great. People want him in the All-Star game. That's fun. Luke Kennard started off hot this season, around like 15 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds per game, something like that, shooting 41% from 3. Looked great. We were just kind of all waiting for Blake Griffin to get back because, of course, you would have had him with Andre Drummond, Tony Snell, fine enough at small forward. Like, things were looking absolutely pristine. And then the injury bug, man. Blake Griffin was the first hit where it's just like, he's out. Reggie Jackson, next hit where it's like, okay, he's going to be gone for most of the season. Like, started off and then it's like, yeah, he's going to be gone for most of the season. Luke Kennard eventually missing like 30 games. It just really started hitting all at once. And it's like, okay, this team's never going to be completely healthy. And the expectations going into the season was like, okay, we made the, I believe it was the 8th seed. Yeah, it was 8th seed last year, got swept by the Milwaukee Bucks. And it was just like, yeah, Derrick Rose, Luke Kennard improving. This is going to be the year, man. But even at that, I think about that, and my mindset's like, the year for what? The year to make like the 6th seed? Maybe, probably not though. It's like even this team being fully healthy, it was still mediocre. that's pretty much it, man. So then, of course, the season went on, and we ended up trading away Andre Drummond for Brandon Knight. John Henson. Did we even get any draft picks? I think we got a second round draft pick. I don't remember, man. I have completely just, like, shunned that from my mind, that whole entire trade. It's like, okay, Drummond's gone. Which, for me, was the beginning of a great thing. Because, to me, that was the Pistons making a stand, looking at what's been going on and being like, okay, like, we obviously failed at building a good contending team over the past 10 years. So instead of holding on to mediocrity, let's go full-on rebuild, man. And even by trading away Andre Drummond, I know the trade was bad, but like I said earlier, guys, he had no trade value. Like, people want to roast the Pistons. If you want to get rid of a guy and nobody's offering up anything, well, guess what? If you still want him gone, you have to take the best thing available. And that was it. A lot of teams were wary of Andre Drummond because they know that he's due like $29 million after the season in a player option. He's probably going to accept that. And if he doesn't, it's like, okay, then he's just gone. So he had no trade value whatsoever. I mean, a lot of people, don't really understand that fundamental of it, and they just say the Pistons got just absolutely destroying that trade. But if you really think about it, what more were they supposed to do? Were they supposed to keep him and have him sign that player option and then, have him be good for a few W's for the Pistons? And it's like, what do those W's even do? Nothing. But let's say Drummond's good for like +7 wins on the season. Okay, that's worse chance at getting the first pick in the draft. And then you bring us to today. Trade away Reggie Jackson. My same mindset was this. It was so funny, man, because I had so many people on my Twitter account, at CrispyFlakes2K, by the way, just coming at me saying, things will get better eventually, Crispy, or, the Pistons took another L. They could have got some trade value. Like, how they could have got trade value for Reggie Jackson? Before the trade deadline, the dude was coming off an injury, man. He barely played this season. And not only that, he's an expiring contract. Like, no team was going to give up, good assets for that type of, for an injury-prone point guard on an $18 million deal that's expiring. It just wasn't going to happen. So I think the Pistons made the right choice and just simply buying him out. Because once again, same song and dance as Drummond. He would have, Reggie Jackson can get hot sometimes. It's like he would have been good for a few additional W's. Let me make sure I'm still freaking recording here, guys. Yeah, okay, we're still recording. Okay. He would have been good for a few additional W's. And it's like, once again, what does that really achieve? He would have walked away after this season anyway, so might as well let him go now. Go give those minutes to the inexperienced players. Hopefully not Brandon Knight. That will be the big thing. That is what is going to, decide for me if Dwayne Casey deserves to coach long-term and because Dwayne Casey was brought in with the mindset of, okay, we need to, like he was going to be like a major playing piece in the Pistons hopefully improving as a team. But now he's being given the responsibilities of completely rebuilding this team. I don't know if he's that type of coach. And I don't know if he's going to be more ego-based and be like, okay, I want to go for W's. Now the moves being made shows me that's not the case. But it's like, yeah, really the big difference is him going to be playing the inexperienced players over the older players over time. Right, man? And then, of course, I think about, the future of the team. What is it that I want exactly? This team needs to draft good. This team needs to, not take chances in the draft. They need to go out there. They need to look at the players. They need to be like, hey, Cole Anthony, this guy's a good point guard. Let's draft him and not take a chance on, just the Stanley Johnsons of the world. Guys like that. I don't know, man. It just seems like the Pistons always just had some weird-ass draft picks. Just go for the guys that were, dogs in college, man, ballers in college, and it's like, just look at them and be like, okay, we want this. We know this guy had success here. That's what they need to do, man. But I will say, and of course, Sekou Demboya is cool. I love him. He'll be good probably in the next 4 or 5 years. I still like Luke Kennard. At the age, I think he's 24 now already. Man, he's definitely one of those old. He was definitely one of those older players, or older rookies, I should say. A guy like that. You all know I juice up Luke Kennard. Absolutely love the guy. I mean, he's just fun to watch in my opinion. But at the same time, if he has knee injuries, it might be a good idea to cash out on him and try to get guys that kind of fit more of the range of Sekou Demboya, right? But yes. So I see all these trades happening. I see these buyouts happening. I hope it happens. I hope they trade Blake Griffin for just something cheap. It would be cool to get a nice, decent draft pick, but take on some bitch-ass contracts. That'd be fine. Same with Derrick Rose. It's I want him to go to a contender, of course. He was given the opportunity. He actually said he wanted to stay in Detroit. So we'll see. I think he probably gets traded this offseason, though. But the thing I see about Detroit is that they are now embracing the rebuild, embracing being a bad team and not being a mediocre team. And I will say, after all these years of being a fan of one of the most mediocre teams in the NBA, it feels absolutely amazing to be a fan of the worst team in the NBA. Because I know eventually, given the right circumstances and the right management choices and just the right draft picks and free agent signings, I know this team could eventually be something. And it had to happen eventually, because with the current group of guys they had, it was never going to be anything. I'm happy, guys. I'm happy today. This is more fun. This is more fun watching the young guys develop, watching Christian Wood, put up some great numbers. I like it, man. And, of course, I hope it's not the next decade. I hope in the next 3-4 years, kind of figure things out and kind of work our ways up. But this last era of basketball, going from the 2004 Detroit Pistons to where we are at now, this past decade has been absolutely horrendous, man. I wish you guys could have seen a younger Crispy that absolutely just, just the passion. I'm so passionate about my team, but damn, I don't know if y'all could have handled that guy. But yeah, guys, this is just some stuff I had to get off my chest about my favorite team, the Detroit Pistons. So if you guys do like these type of talking videos, leave a like on this video, guys. I would love to do more stuff like this. I just don't know if you guys like it or not. Like as opposed to like rebuilds and 2K videos. But yeah, would definitely love to bring this to my channel a bit more. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace out, my friends.